In this modern law system, can we recognize that there is a lack of innovation and intelligence, particular innovation, particular intelligence, most respectively? Because if a hate crime occurs, why is it that it could be swept under the rug? If all these laws exist, why are they even like a thing if they're not necessarily going to be properly upheld on a non-discriminatory like level? Why are laws kind of discriminatory? They could lean towards that, right? So if a hate crime occurs, why is it that it could just kind of go over people's heads without like seeing like without obviously like modernly seeing what the reason is for it, you know? Because if we can't like point towards someone like experiencing an injustice within a law that is supposed to be a thing and we're not aware of those laws, then ultimately it's the law system's lack of innovation and intelligence and non-discrimination that is occurring, because ultimately it's not just for this one country or another country, it's for the globe all around, you know? Because if a hate crime exists, why is it that like someone could kind of like judge based on a system that's like has pretty much holes in it, you know? It has holes in it because if 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 you were to know, if anybody judging, whether you're an official judge or just, you know, some type of critic or just some type of like, you know, whatever kind of judge you are and whatever type of like thing you want to project within your life as you grow up within your transformation. And that's the beauty and the horrendousness of life, is just seeing like the dualities of growing up, of like, you know, sometimes things are fair, sometimes things are not fair. That's just 3D, right? But if you were to know that like nature, like a deep universal nature most respectively could be judging you, and you're like some type of judge in the court, and you judge people harshly based on like who's to really even say like if the judgments are like on like fair grounds, you know? Because it like who's to really say if it's on fair grounds? So does the modern law system, is it lacking like fairness? And that lacking of fairness is because of some type of like possible like you know, discrimination factor. I'm just saying, you know, like this is what the intelligence is going towards. I'm not like I don't like the initiative isn't to like, you know, offend anybody, but if you catch offense, then there's some type of like, you know, biased disposition there, right? So if you were to judge me, or like if you were a judge in the court and you were just judging people, and you barely going towards the end of your life, you have a life outside of your career, but obviously your career is like a significant obviously your career is like a significant 50-50 though, right? Because obviously there's a life outside of like just what you do as a career. So the life outside you do as a career, you in your own way, you have like your own like, whether you could admit it or not, you have your own life seeking kind of like ordeal, right? So there's like a life seeking ordeal, and within the life seeking ordeal, you kind of like when you bounce on and off of your job, you're asking like, what you could be asking like, how did I get here? You know, what is the point of life? That type of shit on a unique standard level of you. And as you're doing that within your free time, you could then ponder a casual insight, tidbit tip or whatever, of like, could nature be like, could there be a real like, you know, a real like you know, quote unquote esoteric system of spirituality, end quote, that could be judging me, that is hidden from the physical world, but it's still interplayed within the physical world. So if like if I'm judging people like unfairly, lack of innovation, holes in the system respectively, then like wouldn't you think like perhaps, and I'm not saying this is like for sure, but I'm just saying like wouldn't you think like, you know, like the universe could be judging you just as you're judging people outside of you. So it's kind of like an advanced principle of, I don't know what book in the Bible this is, but it's like judge and ye shall be judged. Like that principle and that insight, it's one of those natural principles that like the Bible just, you know, highlighted and discovered, but it doesn't have to be like associated with just the Christian associative traditions, right? Because they're highlighting a principle, judge and ye shall be judged. And like, you could like treat that quote however you like, because that quote is in a certain sacred book, right? And that sacred book has some type of like real like credibilities thereof. And within those credibilities thereof, we can't like sweep under or undermine certain statements that we're barely unlocking as far as an understanding, because somewhere in the Bible it says judge and ye shall be judged. So if aside from the humans and aside from the, you know, the physical reality, that could be a whole different thing on a whole different like quote unquote realistical universal level, end quote, most respectively. So it's like judge and ye shall be judged. But like, so like if people are judging as their career and they could be doing it obsolete, energetically speaking, they could be doing it outdated, energetically speaking, then my inquiry and my curious inquisitiveness is asking, how does like the universe law respond to that stuff? Because if there's a hate crime that's here, and you're a quote unquote professional judge, end quote, and you're sweeping that under the rug, why would that be? You know, why would there be leaning towards discrimination? You know, why would there be like kind of like, you know, a whole different, you know, nuanced kind of like intention behind it, you know, a nuance of like it's not just for like, sometimes like it, and we could just contemplate this as like a homework assignment. Like it's as if like the law system that was in the past wasn't necessarily for justice, you know, but the things are moving quote unquote quickly, end quote, but that's not the case for everybody, because everyone's at different places. But like, we could only hope that the law system is transforming for the better, right? Using the innovation for the better, right? Using the intelligence for the better, right? So if we're not doing that, then why like kind of falsely uphold the laws that there are if they're not going to be like, you know, balancedly approached, balancedly recognized? So balancedly approach and balancedly recognize like a hate crime that could be, you know? But like the hate crime is like using like some type of like, you know, verbal kind of like abuse, and using the verbal abuse to actually do something with it. And then after doing something with it, you know, the lower octave out-of-pocket energies within this shifting law system, it's recognized that that's something of like, it's a certain level of a hate crime, right? So it's like, why is there a lack of innovation for us to just see that a certain crime has been made? And why can't we have more innovation and intelligence within seeing a more balanced and fair verdict for any said crime that has been, you know, kind of like been made a thing and followed up on, you know? So if there's like a hate crime, why is it that it could be treated like differently per the person and per like the district, right? And it's not just one country, it's all the countries, because everyone has different dynamics within their quote unquote like, you know, their religious government, you know, business systems, end quote. Shout out to the predecessors, because religion and business, according to the predecessors, they're actually like, they're one and the same respectively. So I'm gonna end it right there. And just like, it's just like we've reached a certain level of critical thinking, you know? It's just a certain level of critical thinking, and it's like if there's a hate crime, why is it like what's making it in this day and age with like a spiritual perspective respectively, what's making it so that the judge doesn't recognize justice?